Okay. And look at that. Okay. So we're ready to start and try and finish the David Hashem Ori today. So last week we got up to the pasuk where we said we started speaking um, about this parak again, and we spoke about various themes that were going to come up in this capital of Tehillim. The first one, the main first one, about Emunah, and we saw those like different things like Lo Yira Libi, I wouldn't be afraid, in this I trust. Then we moved on to the big theme, which is what we finished with the last time. We finished in Pasuk Dalad, Achas Sha'altem Eis Hashem, that there's one thing I have that I'm asking from Hashem, and we spoke about different explanations for it. But the biggest thing we left with last time was that this pasuk is our one request from Hashem: help me to daven. Davening is hard, and I want you, Hashem, to help me to daven. And almost the whole rest of this capital of Tehillim continues with this theme of help me to daven. Okay, that davening is not simple, davening is not easy, and Hashem, I need you to help me. And David HaMelech suggesting different ways that we get Hashem to help us to daven. So we go into Pasuk Hey, again, moving a lot with this theme and with some others. So Pasuk Hey, Ki yitzpeneni b'sukkah, because he will protect me in his shelter, b'yom ra'ah, on a bad day. Yastireni b'seser ohalai, he will hide me under his cover in his tent. But Surya Romanian, he will lift me up on a rock. So, just as a side note, we did say right at the beginning that there's lots of words in this capital of Tehillim which make us say this Tehillim every day of Elul, that hint to us or allude to the upcoming Yom Tovim. And so this one, obviously the word Ki Yitzpeneni the Sukkah, hints to the holiday of Sukkot, which is coming. Nachman of Breslov speaks about this pasuk, and he says, David HaMelech here is speaking about Hashem helping us when we are desperate. That's the only. We feel like we're on the last string. Like there's nothing more. We are about to fall, crash, and not be saved anymore. And he says that historically, David HaMelech had that a lot of times. David HaMelech many times was being chased and like really thought this was his end. He was had Shaul HaMelech right there. He had his son right there. So many times where he thought it was like moments before he came crashing down, and then he was saved. And he was always cognizant of the fact that his last minute being saved was Hashem. And that's what he says, Ki yitzpeneni b'sukkah b'yom ra'ah. You held me, you lifted me, you protected me at that last moment. And Reb Nachman of Breslov says that each of us should be thinking of that as well. There are times where we say, like, I can't do this 1 minute more. I can't manage this. I see that things are falling apart. I don't know what's next, right? And we're in that space. And then suddenly we're out of that space. Things improve. And Reb Nachman of Breslov says, this is the words, Ki yitzpeneni b'sukkah b'yom ra'ah, that Hashem shelters me in his sukkah and he lifts me up on a bad day. Historically, the commentaries tell us that this pasuk is hinting to the story of Yoash. He was a small baby when Atalia massacred the whole of David's family, and the only one who was left was this little baby Yoash. He was hidden in the Kodesh Kodashim, and he actually lived there for 6 years. I was actually just asking my husband before, how did a baby exist in the Kodesh Kodashim for 6 years? Like, who changed his nappies? And my husband said, well, obviously there was someone looking after him. So obviously there was, right? Pasuk Vav. Va'ata Yoram Reshi, and now let my head be raised al Oivais v'vasai, above the enemies who are around me, ve'ezcha ba'ayalai, and I will bring sacrifices in his tent, zivchei sruah, with sacrifices of rejoicing, of singing, ashira va'azamra la Hashem, and I will sing and I'll give praise to Hashem. And this is David HaMelech. Wherever he speaks about his desperation, wherever he speaks about difficulties, he manages to maintain his belief, his hope, his trust that Hashem is going to look after him. And this is the "and" part that we often miss, I'll thank you, Hashem. I not only am I asking, but I'm also going to say thank you. And his trust that yes, I am going to sit in the Beis Hamikdash and I am going to bring sacrifices of thanksgiving, and which means I'm going to survive. Goes with a famous pasuk, Shema Hashem Kaili. Hashem, listen to my voice, Ekra, when I call out to you, v'chaneni v'aneni. Be gracious to me and answer me. So this is a request from David HaMelech that Hashem should listen to our davening, and we know that one of the biggest things we want is to felt heard. We want to know that when we stood and daven, that Hashem said yes, okay, that He heard us, and that He's going to give us what we are asking for. This pasuk is speaking specifically about formal tefillah. So we have different kinds of tefillahs, and formal tefillah is when we use a siddur and we say the words that are prescribed in the times that are prescribed. And this is what this is talking about. The commentaries tell us that Shema is an acronym, the Shin, the Mem, and the Ayin, for Shachris, Mincha, and Arvis. Okay, the three davenings of the day. And we are saying to Hashem, when I stand and daven formal tefillahs, which that's really the most difficult of all tefillahs, are the formal ones. We don't always understand them. We don't always feel like it right then. We don't always like the group of people who we're davening with, or we by ourselves. Shema Hashem Kaili. Hashem, please listen to me then. And specifically it says, not just the once a day, but v'chaneni v'aneni, mincha and ma'ariv as well. Mincha, we know, is a time for when you have a specific request that you want Hashem to be gracious to you, then that's the time that you would improve your mincha davening, because Chaneni is look at me with chain, with graciousness. And he continues and says, Lacha amar libi, to you, my heart says, Bakshu fanai, long for my face, es panecha Hashem avakesh. It's your face, Hashem, that I'm looking for. So this pasuk is very interesting in that it changes tense. We changes who's speaking. So we need to look at it carefully. So the first simple way of understanding this pasuk is that this pasuk is talking about informal prayer. That prayer that we make when we're sitting in our car, when we're standing in our kitchen, those prayers that just come out of our hearts and say like, please Hashem, okay, this is what I'm asking you for. Please Hashem, this is what I need, right? Those are our informal prayers that are coming from our heart. Lecha amar libi. I'm talking to you, Hashem. Bakshu fanai. Okay, look at my face, and it uses the word avokesh. I'm asking. I'm pleading with you. So traditionally, these are the easier prayers to make Hashem because they come straight from inside us, and it is an important part of our tefillahs, right? We have the obligation to turn to Hashem when we need something. We have the obligation to daven formal prayer and informal prayer. So by most opinions, this pasuk is talking about informal prayers. Let's look at it again as a continuation of the pasuk before, which is talking about the formal prayers. And we all have. Some people have it more, some people have it less, some people have it more often, some people have it less often, but we have that moment where we do want to daven. And we we take out a sitter and we go into shul, or we go into our study, or wherever it is, and we open up our sitter and we say the words that the Anshe Knesset Taylor wrote for us, and we understand them or we don't understand them. But when we finish saying it, we feel like, hey, I connected. I was inspired and I had a few good minutes, or had all of it was good, or however it works. Says the commentaries, how did that happen? Lacha amar libi. Okay, it's you who told my heart to do that. And this is the acknowledgement that even when we are inspired ourselves, it is Hashem who inspires us. And so there are those times that we do feel connected. Hashem was helping us. Hashem actually gave us that push. Hashem helped us to feel connected to Him. How do we do it? How can we all have this better time that we can daven and it works? If we take our hearts with us. Lacha amar libi. We take our hearts with us. Because when we just go to daven with a siddur, it's not so easy to connect. But when we go with a siddur and we have libi, we have our hearts with us as well, that's when we can connect with Hashem. Bakshupana, that Hashem can listen to the bakashas, the feelings, the desires of our hearts through formal prayer as well. It's interesting wording over here as Panecha Hashem Avakesh. Hashem, I want to be near you. And a few comments on this pasuk. So, firstly, when you look at someone, and we say we like looking at their face, we actually, what we mean is that we want through their face to see deeper into them. So we always have this dilemma when we're looking for shidduchim, that you look at a picture of some random boy, some in other part of the world, and you judge if you want him for a son-in-law or not according to his picture, and that's so outrageous, right? Like, how do we do that? What a chutzpah! And yet over here, David HaMelech is saying, you want to get close to Hashem, look at his face, which means look at his essence. You're not looking to see if he has blue eyes. You're looking to see, what are you seeing deeper? What message is the person sending by looking at them? I don't know if you can get that from a picture, though. That's a side point, different discussion. But this is what we're asking Hashem. We want to see from you, Hashem, that we want to show you our essence, our depth, and we want to see your essence, your depth. David HaMelech was also making a good comment or a good suggestion to us. He was saying, he was encouraging people to see his face. Come and see David HaMelech. As Panecha, you have to see the king's face. And why you have to see the king's face is because godliness is reflected in the face of the king, which is why a person would make a bracha when they see a real king, because they're seeing a little bit of godliness in this world. And this, the commentaries tell us, is also when we see a tzaddik. Seeing the face of a tzaddik affects us. If we open ourselves to it, it will affect us more. If we don't open ourselves to it, it will still affect us. I remember when we used to go to 770, and we used to stand there and wait for the Rebbe to come out of his room and just get a glimpse of him going from one place to another place, just simply to see the face of the Rebbe. And people would come there with babies, and I was always so amazed at the fact that a mother who's got her newborn baby over there, who doesn't let her sister or her mother or anyone hold the baby, suddenly there in the little entrance hall to the Rebbe's room would hand their newborn baby over to any stranger. Take the baby to the front so the baby will see the Rebbe. And I was always interested in it until I learned this concept that the baby is affected by seeing the tzaddik, by seeing the Rebbe, just by seeing it, even if it isn't yet old enough to appreciate the greatness of what it's seeing. And this is what David HaMelech says: "Bakshu fanai." You have to long to see Hashem's face. You have to look for godliness in the world around you. So that's for his suggestion to us. And he continues and he says, Al taster panecha mimenu. Please, Hashem, don't hide your face from me. Al tat be'afavdecha. Don't turn away from your servant in anger. As Rasi Hayisa, you've been my help. Al ticheni ve'al tazveni. Don't discard me. Don't forsake me. And Yishi, you are the God of my salvation. So the most difficult time of serving Hashem is if we think that, like, or not we think, when Hashem is hiding from us, when we cannot see like rhyme or reason for what's going on in our lives, where we can't feel Hashem loving us, where things just are hard and difficult and don't make sense to us. That's Hashem hiding his face from us. And we have a different word to describe what that is. We call it galus. That is galus that we live in, where we don't see Hashem clearly. Often, a lot of time we just don't see him. And this is David HaMelech pleading with Hashem, Al taster panecha mimenu. Don't hide your face from me. That's the hardest way when we are feeling ignored, or we're feeling bitter, or we're feeling angry, to stand up and daven and trust in Hashem. And David HaMelech says, please Hashem, don't do that to me. Al taster panecha mimenu. Don't hide your face from me, even if I deserve it. Al tat be'afavdecha. Don't turn away in anger. Don't say, well, you haven't behaved and that's why this is how I'm treating you. No. Al tat be'afavdecha. David HaMelech says, please don't turn away from me, because that could break my faith. And we see that. We see like different people's reactions to the same situation. Always the example is always brought of the Holocaust, where some people who went out of the Holocaust came out being so God-fearing, full of so much emunah. You should see the miracles that Hashem did. And the other people who were in the next bunk, or even in the same bunk, came out of the Holocaust with no emunah whatsoever and said, what? You really believe there was a God who let all that happen? I don't believe in him at all. And this is what David HaMelech is asking over here. I want to be able to feel you. I don't want to be broken by the things that I've gone through. I want to feel your embrace, because as Rasi Hayisa, you've always been my help. And don't discard me. Don't forsake me, right? Because Yishi, you are the God of my you're the God of my salvation. And that's what we want to see from Hashem. Continues and he says, Ki avi ve'imi azavuni, my father and my mother have abandoned me, v'Hashem ya'asfeni, but Hashem, you gather me in. So obviously all the Mefarshim ask straight away, what does David HaMelech mean when he says my father and my mother abandoned me? And they all come with different opinions. So Shamshon Raphael Hirsch says, even if I would be so bad that my father and my mother wouldn't want to have anything to do with me anymore, you, Hashem, wouldn't give up on me. That's what David HaMelech is saying. No matter how much a person has sinned, that human beings are not interested in him anymore, even the people who officially will love him through everything, Avi ve'imi, my father and my mother, I know that Hashem will never give up on me. That's the simplest way of understanding it. The Sforno says differently. He says that at some stage in all of our lives, our parents tell us, okay, I've done everything I can for you. Now you're on my own. You're on your own. And we got to go and be on our own. So our parents might be there in the background, or maybe not, but we on our own. That's reality. And that's what David HaMelech says. He says, I've come to this time in my life, ki avi ve'imi azavuni, that my parents have stopped looking after me just like that. But why? How come I can survive? V'Hashem yasfeini. I know that Hashem will look after me. And I once heard Rabbi Manos Friedman explaining this pasuk, and he says that from the time of conception, where a person is conceived and their mother and father are sleeping, from that moment on, Hashem takes care. Hashem looks after them forever onwards. And then David HaMelech makes his big request of Hashem. He says, Hareini Hashem darkecha. Hashem, show me your ways. Uncheni ba'arech mishar, lead me in a straight path, lema'an shererai, because my attackers are watching and waiting. So this is our first big request here, or it's not really the first, it's one of the very big requests over here. Hareini Hashem darkecha. Tell me what you're doing, Hashem. I want to understand. So, what's happening? Sorry. So I want to understand what you're doing. So often we have this thing of, I wish I could understand what Hashem wanted. I wish I could understand what Hashem is doing. I often say that to my husband. I wish I could understand, and his response to me always is, do you really want a God who you could understand? And my response is yes. I really want a God who I could understand. And when I was preparing this morning, I was thinking to myself, so did David HaMelech want a God who he could understand. He said, Hareini Hashem darkecha. Hashem, please teach me your ways. I want to understand. Okay, I want to know why you're doing what you're doing. But what he says, teach me your ways, darkecha. So all the Mephoshim home in over here on this concept of darkecha, your ways. So there's two different ways that we have to follow. The one is we have to become good at the things that are bein Adam lamakom, all mitzvahs to do with Hashem and us. And then there's another whole way that we also have to follow, and that's to do with all the mitzvahs that are bein Adam l'chavero, between man and his fellow human being. And this is Hashem, help me with both of them, because most of us are good at one. We love being holy and spiritual, but we don't necessarily have so much patience for other humans. Or we're very good at being a good human socialite or whatever, and we're not so good at our connection with Hashem. And so David HaMelech says, teach me your ways. I want to be able to do both. I want to be able to be good at bein Adam l'makom, my relationship with God, and I also, want to be good at my relationship with other human beings. More than that, in the commentaries, we became a nation, a Jewish nation, by being the descendants of Yaakov's 12 children. There were 12 tribes. It wasn't just a handover from one person to the next, like one child to the next, but Hashem specially made us be Bnei Yisrael, children of 12 tribes, because there are lots of different ways of how to serve Hashem. And we are all different personalities. And some people like one way, some people like a different way. Some people are governed by their emotions. Some people are governed, their method of getting close to Hashem is through academics. Other people, their method of getting close to Hashem is through music and singing, right? So everybody has their method of connecting to Hashem. There is not one correct way. They all are correct. I often, and I'm sure I've said it here before, and I'll say it again, speak about Kirsten Bosch. So I heard that Kirsten Bosch needs lots of help at the moment. But from how I remember Kirsten Bosch, you walked into the gardens and you could choose whichever way you wanted to go. And everybody who came in at the same time and left at the same time did not see the same Kirsten Bosch. So some people would come there, like if I went there with my children, they only wanted to go on the big piece of grass and play in the tree and paddle in the stream. If I was going there myself, I wanted to go a little bit further up the mountain to where Lady Barnard's bath is. Other people like to climb the mountain. Other people want to see the orchids. Other people want to see the herbs. Everybody had something that they loved in Kirsten Bosch, and all of them went to Kirsten Bosch, right? It was the same Kirsten Bosch. And this is, for me, a mashal of Torah, that we all are traveling in the same Torah. We all want to excel at Torah, but we all have our route, the things we like, that which appeals to me and helps me to get close to Hashem. And as long as it's true and honest and kosher, that is the same Torah, and it's our job. Hareini Hashem darkecha. Hashem, show me all your different ways, unacheni ba'arech mishar, and help me find my way. Help me find the path that's good for me and that brings me close. That brings me close to you, Lama'an Sharirai, because everybody's watching to see if I'm going to trip up or if I'm going to manage this, if I'm going to do it well. Alta Tanaini Benefesh Tsarai. Don't leave me to the will of my enemies. Because false witnesses rise against me, and they just want to do violence. And these enemies, these false witnesses, all of this is our Yetzer Hara, the people around us who don't want us to use our koichos, our abilities, our spiritual things that we've worked on, and they don't want us to connect with Hashem. The Yetzer Hara, the last thing the Yetzer Hara wants is for us to find our way in service of Hashem, and we need Hashem to help us that we don't get caught up with the Yetzer Hara, with everybody around us who is discouraging us from growing in Torah the way that we are supposed to. And he continues and he says, Lulei he'emanti li'ois b'tuv Hashem. If not for my belief in the goodness of Hashem, Be'eretz Chaim, in the land of the living, they would, people in the previous pasuk would destroy me. So firstly, if you look at the word Lulei, you will see the letters of the month Elul, Lamed Vav, Lamed Aleph. It's the other way around. And the commentaries tell us that were it not for the power of the month of Elul, the kayach of the month of Elul, that which we can achieve in the month of Elul, we wouldn't be able to go into Yom Tov and achieve anything at all. So we have this month, Lulei, the month of Elul, He'emanti, to work on our faith, to work on our trust, to work on our davening, to work on our connection with Hashem. That's what's going to take us into having a good Tishrei, into having a good Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur. And finally, says David HaMelech, he says, Kaveh el Hashem, put your hope in Hashem, Chazak v'yametz libecha, be strong and he will strengthen your heart, v'kaveh el Hashem, and put your hope in Hashem. So the biggest message of the whole of this kapitel is that of hope. If we told over and over again, as long as a person has hope, they'll be okay. The moment we give up hope, we've lost everything. And David HaMelech tells it to us. He says, Kavel Hashem, put your hope in Hashem, put your trust in Hashem, believe in Him, daven to Him, ask Him in every different way that you want to connect with Him. And the Gemara tells us over here, it says, Kavel Hashem, that a person should put their hope in Hashem. And then what happens if we put our hope in Hashem and we don't get what we want? What we thought we needed. Like, hey, Hashem, I really tried. I put all my hope in you. I put my trust in you. I believed in you, and you didn't give me what I wanted. Then what should you do? How should you react? Chazak v'yametz libecha. You should strengthen yourself even more. V'kavel Hashem, and put your hope, your trust in Hashem. Again. And this, says the Gemara, this is what this whole kapitel is about, that we never give up, and we never ever give up hope in Hashem. And that's why we say this kapitel for the whole month of Elul, to give us that power to get through the month of Elul and to face Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And that brings us to the end of L'David Hashem Ayri.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So it is.
Gave us chizuk.
Yeah, it is very nice. I found it very uplifting.